Alright, everybody. So, my name's Scotty. I'm 33. I'm from Oregon. Currently living in Boise, Idaho. I decided to make this video to kind of explain more about myself and explain more about some of the stuff you kind of see in the videos. Like the way I walk, specifically. So, we're going to start there. So, when I was just a baby, when I was born, I was diagnosed with spina bifida, which pretty much meant that my spine is curved. I have to have a shunt. It's called a shunt, which is a tube that goes from my brain and then drains the blood out of my brain. Spina bifida is basically my legs were not backwards. They were crooked when I was born. They had to snap them forward, fix them. So throughout my life, I dealt with a lot of bullying, torture because of these things. Also, even with that, I was a very tough kid. Never cried about my disability, never let it get me down, never let it really hurt me in any way. I kind of used it as a thing that, I was born this way and it pushed me. I've been through a lot of bullying and everything since I was a kid. Like, I was bullied a lot, quite a bit, called penguin, called a cripple, just been made fun of, called a freak. So throughout my life, I dealt with that, and I started to believe everything everybody called me was true. I was a freak. I walked like a penguin. I could never do anything. But even through everything, even that attitude of feeling that way at that time, like my parents were always there for me. I didn't really show them a lot of my struggles because I didn't want them to hurt in any way because of it. They always pushed me to do anything I can do. And then there was my grandma. Her name's Vivian. She actually pushed me probably more than anybody. She was on my ass all the time about telling me I could do anything I wanted to do as long as I push myself to do it. So she was one of my biggest supporters as a kid. I think she died I believe it was when I was 13. And it had been a big impact on me, my brother, and my sister. My sister, she took it and she ran with it and she did good things with her life. She's doing good, has kids and everything. My brother has kids and everything too. But so a lot of the bullying and everything I dealt with, and the pain in my body because of the spina bifida and everything. And then my grandma died. When she died, it turned us we both turned into not great kids. We were kind of bad kids. Running around partying, drinking, like most kids do, but we were taking it to a different level. Like, we would probably overdo what we should be doing. Even at that age, we shouldn't have been doing anything. I was smoking weed, and then as I got older, I discovered pain pills. Not because the doctor's giving them to me, because people I know, friends, give them to me because they figure it would help my pain and everything. And then I became a pill addict for a long time in my life. I did pills when I was in high school. I drank when I was in high school. I smoked weed. Did acid a few times. I was not a great kid. I mean, a great person. And that continued as I got older. I kind of became one of those people that would give other people drugs. Then on around my 21st birthday, I um, I remember doing meth for the first time. It was something that I had seen other people around me doing, and I decided it was worth trying. So I tried it, and then I was a meth addict from the time I was probably got big into it when I was 23, maybe 24. And I did it all the way up until, I was in my 30s. I'm 33 now. And I wasn't doing it consistent in that time. It was just, I would relapse. I've been to rehab twice. The second time it's worked so far. I've been good. Been sober quite a while. But anyways, back to the story. So I think it was 5 years ago or so. I had been still doing drugs off and on, and so I had gotten out of rehab, and then I had gotten a hole in my foot, and I was working a job at Dairy Queen, and I was ignoring it. And this was before I relapsed. I was ignoring it for months. I just act like it didn't hurt or anything, and then I ended up at another job, or no, I had relapsed, and then I went to another job, and then I had sobered up for a long time. Then I went back on doing dope again. I relapsed, and I ended up losing a leg because the methamphetamines that was in my system wouldn't allow my body to heal from the damage that I caused with the rock being in my foot. And so I had been at work at a restaurant in Oregon working for a guy named Dave, and it's called the Oregon Trail. And I had worked there for, I don't even know, 5 years probably. I think, I don't even remember. It's kind of a little hazy in there. But I worked for him for a long time, and it was my favorite job. I had felt at home. I loved it, and everything. And then a guy had gotten hired. They just so happened to be doing drugs, the same drugs that I like to do. And I had actually relapsed on doing pills even when I was working there. So I wasn't completely sober, but I was not using methamphetamines at the time. I was using pills and smoking weed again and doing a lot of it. So I will admit that I was not totally sober in that time. But then a guy at my work had offered me, hey, you want to get high? Because I had talked to him about my drug addiction and everything. And I was like, he showed me what he had and everything. And, in my mind, I'm like, sure, hell yeah, I want to get high. So I relapsed at that time. And it was messed up because my life went from great to, I was living in the motel at the time before I lost the leg. Actually, let's go back a little bit. So before I lost the leg, I was living with this girl named Chloe in Oregon, and I had a stepdaughter, and I had good things going on in my life, and everything was good. And then me and her broke up or whatever after I lost my leg because of reasons that are unnecessary to talk about. But then I went and lived at the motel after I lost the leg, and I was living there for almost a year. And then I had relapsed with that guy, and it was one of those things where I thought it was going to be a one-time thing. I didn't know it was going to turn back into the same addiction. So anyways, 4 months later, and I can walk fine. I learned, as you guys can see, I wobble back and forth. That's because of the spina bifida. Then I lost a leg, which makes it even harder to walk, but I know I can walk and I can do everything. And I push myself every day to do these things because I know that there's somebody out there that's going to see this or see my channel and see that a guy that was born with a disability and lost a leg and has drug addiction, if he can do these things, so can I. And that's one thing about this channel is I want you guys to see that if I can do things, if I can do this, you guys can do it. I come out and I'm the guy behind the GoPro cameras. I GoPro every day for you guys because I want you guys to see that you guys can do the things I do if you just motivate yourself to do it. Or you could do better than me. You could do anything in the world that you want to do as long as you put your time and effort into doing it. But anyways, so there's other parts of my life that are kind of crazy. I hung out with a lot of bad people. I was a meth person. Let's just say that I lived in a trap house. I hung out in trap houses. Um, always doing drugs for years. And would do the most. I would do I'd be doing pills. I'd be doing meth. Be smoking weed. I'd be doing anything else I could get my hands on. And that was before all the losing the leg and everything back. I just want to go back and tell you guys some of the stories, so if you see this, you understand. Like, I've been through some shit. Other than just the losing the leg and the having a disability, the drug addiction was probably harder than either one of those things. Drug addiction was worse. And I was drug addiction with my brother. And don't get me wrong, I wish it would have never happened, but I'm glad that I was with him when it happened, because it saved my life. And I think having me around, hopefully it saved his life too. But we were people that would go we'd steal bikes. We'd take these bikes and remake them and give them to our friends. Which don't get me wrong, I regret it all. Like, we took so many people's bikes and made them into our bikes. Like, we had perfect bikes that we'd run around and we'd get rid of things. We do unsolicited things that I don't particularly like to talk about. But it was like a violent life. It was a watch people go downhill life, where you see people that are such bad drug addicts that they do things like pick at their face. They shoot needles in their arms, and which is sad to see. Like, I'm not a shooter. I've never been that, and I don't understand it. And I'm glad I don't understand it, because I would do things like, they call it a hot rail, which is you're snorting drugs straight to your brain. And I know how that felt, and that was some of the back in the day, I used to think that was a good feeling, and now I don't. Like, I remember times where we had fun. And I'm not going to say there was never fun times, because there was fun times. There was awesome times with us together. Me and all my friends and my brother and all of us together. We had fun living in the house together. And even when we weren't out doing bad things, we were just the love of the house, having us together was great, because we all looked out for each other, even through the drug game. And I miss all of my friends back home, because I was born and raised in a small town called Baker City, Oregon. That town turned into a trap town and drug addict town because of the fact that me and my friends did what we did. I grew up in this town, like I said, bullied and messed with and everything else. And then it turned me into a drug addict, which in the drug world I felt, I was never looked at as a dude that had a disability. I was looked at as just another dude that you can get what you want from. And people respected me and respected that. And they respected that I was willing to run with them even though I had a disability. And I'm not glorifying my drug addiction in any way. I'm just saying that there was times where it was like, you could feel the love of the other friends you had in the house, even though you were in a shitty ass life. And there's times where we'd be miserable and bad things would happen because of what we did. One of us got arrested. It was heartbreaking to the rest of us, but I was in and out of jail from the time I was 21 until a couple years ago. I stopped getting in trouble. Finally was able to get to where I could expunge my record because of the fact that I was doing good things in my life. I've made a lot of friends along the way in drug addiction, but it was still a sad life. Like, looking back at it, I wouldn't do it again. But if I had to do it again, I would have done it with the same people I did it with before, because I love every single one of them. And it's not because of anything they did, but they were there, and they were, we all went through the struggle together, and a lot of us are getting clean now, which is good to see. But we are, the thing is, like, even when your friends get clean with you, there's this part of you that you have to stay away from those people because you feel like you're bad for those people too. And I always feel like I'm bad for people's life because of the drug addiction shit. Not only that, I feel like I don't belong anywhere because of the way I walk. Like, I don't. I feel like everybody else is, everybody else walks normal. Like, all you guys walk normal. I feel that way, even though I know that there's people that walk like me, but I don't see it often. And so it makes you feel alone, makes you feel like a freak. I still feel that way to this day, and I hate it because it makes me miserable. I'm depressed. At the moment, because of the way things worked out after I got out of rehab, I was in a sober house. They kicked me out because I wasn't allowed, or because I wasn't making it to the classes that were all the way across town. I was missing a leg at this time, so having one leg, it's really hard to walk across town. So they kicked me out, and I ended up in a homeless shelter out here in Boise, Idaho, which really sucks. But every day, even through every struggle that I've been with, I push every day to make these videos. I push every day to keep my sobriety. I push every day to keep going to my drug and alcohol classes. I push every day to make all my family proud. Push every day to keep the friends that I have now that are sober, that I've met in sober life, keep them sober so that we can still be around each other. Keep myself sober so I can make my mom and dad proud. Because, that means more to me than anything is making my mom and dad proud. And because of the fact that I've hurt them more than anybody in the world. If you want to see true hurt, look at a drug addict's family. Look at a drug addict's mother. Look at a drug addict's father. They're the ones that get hurt worse more than anybody else in the world. You look at the drug addict and everybody feels bad for the drug addict. People need to focus. Don't get me wrong. A drug addict we need the help. We need the support. But that family needs that support too. Because I've seen, I couldn't even tell you. Since I was a kid, I've had people die almost every year. Friends of mine. Watching them die from drug addiction, suicide, car crashes. Some of them just died from natural causes, if you would call it that. But I've watched a lot of people die in my life. I still watch them. It's still every year. I think every year since I was 13, I've had somebody die as a friend or other family member. And it breaks your heart. It makes you miserable. It makes you angry. It makes you hate the world. And I used to be a Christian, and I lost faith because I had been through so much heartbreak in my life and bad shit in my life. Part of me feels like, if there's a God, why is all this bad happen to me? Why am I still having bad things happen to me? Why am I stuck in a shelter after I've already had all these, losing a leg, being a drug addict, being born with a spina bifida? Why, after all that, am I still being punished? So it's hard for me to believe in God. And I know that's going to make some people mad or whatever, but it's my personal beliefs. And there's part of me that I do feel like there could be God, but it's hard to believe something that, if there is, why is he punishing me so bad? You understand what I mean? It's not a disrespect to anybody's religion. I respect anybody's religion. Everybody has the right to believe whatever they want. But personally, I've been through so much hurt that it's hard to believe things. Not only that, so a lot of my anger, we're going to go back again. A lot of my anger came from, obviously, when my grandma passed away. But then it hurt. I got more hurt when I had a friend die on a trampoline from a seizure. She died. And then I had my brother, I think the same year or the year after, he went to boys lockup. And me and my brother had me and my brother have been together my whole life. My whole life, literally my whole life. Like, we were born and raised together. We lived in the same room together. We go to school at the same school. And so I followed my brother. My brother and me were inseparable. still are to this day. I still care. I think about my brother every day because my brother and me went through the most crazy, fucked up life together after we chose the not great life. But we've been through everything together. And so when I ever had to see him get locked up for the very first time, it broke my heart. And that was when he was 15 or 16 years old. He was taken to this place called Norcor. We had to go drop him off. I remember the whole drive there. I was brokenhearted because I had to watch that. I had to go with my brother, drop him off at this boys' prison, hug him for the last time, for how many ever months. I think it was like 6, 8 months, something. But even though it was that amount of time as a kid, it broke my heart. It terrorized me because it was heartbreaking. Sorry, you guys might be able to hear the kids over here. There's a kid with his dad. But no. Anyways, it was the most heartbreaking feeling to me because I knew that throughout that time, the brother that I had that when I was bullied, and he knew about it, he was the one that protected me. I didn't have nobody else. My sister was off doing her own thing, and she couldn't. It was my sister. It wasn't her job to protect me. It was my brother's. Like, in his way, he thought it was his job to protect me. Like, and it never was his job to protect me. He did it though because he was my brother. And so that's what I mean. We were inseparable. He would protect me against anybody. He could fuck with me all he wanted. But if somebody else did it, they were going to get hurt really bad for doing what they did. And it didn't matter if he went to jail. He didn't care. He would come and he would beat the shit out of you for fucking with me. Sorry, there's going to be cussing in this video. So it's probably not for kids. If it, but it's hard to explain like that bond because it's a brotherly bond. It's that bond that, like I said, he can mess with me all he wants, but nobody else could. And then when he went to jail, everybody knew he was gone, so they proceeded to torture and pick on me and do things like trip me and mess with me. And I never told my brother this even after he got out of lockup because I knew that if I did, he would go right back. So I dealt with the torture. I dealt with them being messed with all the way till middle school, I believe. And then I became a little tougher and protected myself more. But I also met this buddy of mine named Christian, and we became good friends, and he had my back no matter what. Somebody messed with me, and he would just fight him right on the spot. And I would do the same for him back then. It was a mutual thing, and I knew his family. They were my friends. They were fucking, like, we were tight together, and we had a bond that if anybody messed with me, it was fighting. It was not no talking. We didn't know no talking. That's how we were raised. And I had my brother that was friends with my buddy's brother, so I had that going on. I had a whole platoon of people, like a little army of people that were my brother's friends and stuff that would protect me. And then I had some of my sister's friends that I went to high school with. They were seniors, I think, when I came in, or sophomores. I think is when I got in with my sister. But her friends would protect me too. And it didn't matter whether I was the one that started the problem or not. They were there to protect me. I had a buddy named Maybury Anders, and he was the buddy to protect me through anything. And then he passed away when I was in high school, which broke my heart because I was still in high school in my last year, and he got a choice either going to the military or going to jail. He chose military. My senior year, he got blown up, which broke my heart because he was my buddy. And so I stopped talking to people. I stopped caring because he was my buddy and he was gone. And then I had other friends that died in between that, which just made it worse and worse. So I became this angry ass kid that loved drugs. It was my only escape was doing drugs. I didn't know, even through the pain, through my back, my spina bifida, my losing my leg, everything. The only escape I've ever known was drugs. And so even these people, I'd go do drugs with them all the time. That's what we did. We did drugs. And it was fun. We partied, and it was cool. But my life took a worse turn after that. Like, even watching my brother being arrested and everything. I never got arrested as a young kid. But I became an asshole, and I would beat people up, and I would fight anybody. I'm still that way to this day. I'm willing to fight anybody because I don't like being messed with. So I am that way. But I also love people a lot more now. And I love myself a lot more now. I respect myself a lot more, enough to not go be able to be a drug addict anymore. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to die as a drug addict. I don't want to have make my mom bury me as a drug addict. Just because that's a messed up story to have to. I don't want to die being on drugs, because that's is your forever story. Is you died because you were doing drugs. So that's a lot of what got me sober. My dad, my mom got me sober because they were there. I remember having the most heartbreaking conversation with my dad before I went to rehab the last time, and hopefully it'll be my last time to ever go to rehab again. But before I went to rehab, I had a conversation with my dad in the middle of the park. I was living in a tent. My mom was coming to feed me, give me stuff, not even though she shouldn't have been, because I didn't deserve it. But I told my dad. I broke down finally. I talked to my dad's boss, and he asked me what I was doing. I told him I want to go to rehab and everything. And he asked me if he could help me in any way, and I said, I just want to talk to my dad. That's all I want. So I remember my dad coming over, and I'm telling my dad that I'm sorry, and that I wished he didn't hate me for the things I did. And then I was sorry that I was a disappointment. I'm sorry that I was such a bad kid. And then I was sorry that I took the life that I did instead of going to college or going to culinary school or going to computer school like I wanted to do most of my life. It was my dream, but I chose drugs over that because it felt like an escape to me to do drugs. That's all. That's why I'm an addict, is because drugs felt like an escape. Even when it wasn't fun, I wasn't thinking about the bad shit because I was so drugged out. It didn't matter. I was high, so I was thinking about being high. And I was thinking about destroying bikes and taking shit apart that didn't need to be taken apart, and tweaking out, thinking people were out to get me, and doing all this other shit. That's what I was worried about. And so I told my dad that I was sorry that I was a disappointment, all this other thing. Sorry guys, I have a bee coming at me. But I told him how sorry I was. Dude, get the fuck out of here. Anyways, I told him how sorry I was about that, and I broke down crying, telling him all I want to do is go get sober and go to rehab and fix my life, and then I'm sorry that everything was the way I was. Well, that day I had gone to the rehab in my hometown. My mom works there. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell people that or whatever, but so she works there, and I tried to get into the detox part there, and they told me they couldn't do it because I had already had a couple days sober. So I told them, and I told my mom, I was gonna go get drugs and I was gonna go get high so that I could get into rehab. Well, it just so happened that as I was walking down the pathway, after talking to some people at the outpatient rehab there, they had made some calls and everything, and then they called me and told me that I had gotten into a space into an Ontario rehab. So I went to rehab, did great in rehab, graduated, felt fucking awesome, came out of it, and before I graduated, on my graduation day, that I graduated on my birthday, I basically, all the memories of everything bad that I had done came back. On that day, it hit me hard, and it solidified me not wanting to do drugs anymore. I was done. And I still have been done since then. I'm good. I'm sober. I'm good. But it was heartbreaking to have my parents, one, come see me in a rehab. That sucked. That was shitty. But for the first time, even in, the first time I went to rehab, my dad didn't come when I graduated because he was pissed at me for doing what I did. And it was taking him a long time to forgive me for what I did. But the second time he showed up and was there, and my mom is always there. She's been there through jail time. She's been there through everything. My mother she's an angel. She's the sweetest, most caring, loving, perfect person you can meet in the world. I love her more than anything in the world. And she's been there through everything. My jails, my rehabs, my watching me do drug addiction, everything. My dad wasn't, because he didn't believe that he should be, and I understand where he comes from. 100% understood it. But it also hurt a lot, and I deserved it. But that hurt helped me get better and do what I'm doing. So this is a 30-minute video already, so I'm not going to keep you guys on here long. I just wanted to explain to you guys somewhat about my life that you guys didn't know about before. And I also made this video because I want you guys to realize, if I can do this with one leg and a disability and been through drug addiction, been a criminal, been all these other things, you guys can do it too. Like, you guys can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it. And I know you can do it because I can do it. That's why I do these videos for you guys. And that's why, even if it's just a little, my videos aren't even getting that many views. They're getting little views, but it's meaningful views to me. It means something to me. And this is something I've always wanted to do, is just be a YouTuber. And so I'm doing it. And I'm not making it fast. It's going to take me a long time probably to get to where I want to be. But with your guys' help, I can make this happen. And it's up to you guys. I mean, I could sink or swim, and it's up to whatever choice you guys make, whether you like the videos, whether you view the videos, whether you subscribe, whether you do whatever. I mean, I dislike the videos, anything. It's up to you guys. But I just want to say I love you guys, and I appreciate every subscriber that I have and every viewer that I have. Even if you just come in to view it and you haven't subscribed, I would love it and appreciate it if you could subscribe to make this happen. But even if you don't, just viewing the videos, I just want you guys to know I love you. And I appreciate you and everything. And just remember, you can do anything you put your mind to it. Just please never tell yourself you can't do it. But anyways, I love you guys, and peace.